One of the reasons I died was really to liberate this series from Ripley. For the sake of the series, and also because I heard they were going to do Alien versus Predator or something that I thought was just sounded awful.
In the late 1980s, Dark Horse executives had a meeting with their creatives discussing future directions for the company. In that meeting, Chris Warner, who was involved in the 1989-1990 four-part Concrete Jungle Predator series that was the documented inspiration for Predator 2, spoke up. Chris suggested the idea of a Predator and Alien crossover, and everyone instantly understood the merit of his idea.
Within 20 minutes, 20th Century Fox had already given us the green light to go with it.
The Alien vs. Predator comic started as a 5-part series released in June 1990, and the last issue of the series was released on December 1990. The series began with two men talking about nature versus technology in the bridge of their supply craft. Then a Predator ship flies past them, but they think it's a meteor. On the Predator ship, there is an alien queen, and they harvest her eggs so they can seed planets, so young Predator hopefuls who are not recognized can get the chance to hunt xenomorphs and prove themselves. The planet they eventually pick is called Ryushi. Hell, I'll just spell it for you. Ryushi. I learned my proper English in classrooms from a German in Germany, so we were taught to pronounce every single letter. So I'll probably never be able to say it right, and it's not going to hurt my feelings if I never do pronounce it right. So let's move on. The problem with the planet they choose is that there is a human colony there. After the eggs arrive on the planet, facehuggers find targets, and later that night, two colonists find a facehugger corpse. They return it to the colony doctor to be inspected, but lie about where they found it, fearing their area will be quarantined. At the colony, the supply ship lands, and there's a party because of its arrival. The colony doctor is intrigued by the facehugger and goes to the site where it is falsely claimed to be found. While out, the doctor crashes his hoverbike into the Predator leader Broken Tusk, rendering him unconscious, before crashing and destroying the Predator shuttle and dying. With no real leadership, the impulsive young hunters decide to declare war on the human colony. When some of the crew return to the supply ship from partying, it is discovered that aliens have made a small hive on the supply ship, and they have a queen. The next morning, a search party is sent out to find the doctor, and they find the remains of the Predator shuttle and the unconscious Broken Tusk, who was left behind. At the colony, they strap Broken Tusk down and try their best to nurse him back to health. While the Predators head to the colony on foot, they come to a farm and slaughter the humans there, while their son escapes on a hoverbike. When the boy gets to town, he ends up in medical and identifies that Broken Tusk is the same race that killed his parents. Fearing an attack, the town barricades itself, but all hell breaks out when the Predators arrive and the aliens start pouring out of the supply ship. Predators begin to kill xenomorphs and humans alike, and one of the Predators goes after the medical bay. Realizing these humans helped him, Tusk defends the humans. Broken Tusk is given his equipment, and the creature helps the humans survive. Then it leads some humans into the supply ship to kill the queen, and they manage to kill the queen before Tusk is wounded. Then Tusk and a human escape in an emergency pod, as the colony and everything around it is destroyed. When the pod lands in the distance, Broken Tusk marks the human just before dying, while the human cries over the loss. When the periodical arrived in June 1990, it was a great success, and they actually had to print more copies to keep up with the demand. It sold over 500,000 copies, which was amazing for that time and for comics. It was so popular, the film Predator 2 took notice and added the alien skull on the Predator ship, though there is a good debate that this was not what motivated them to do so. You can find clips of the filmmaker saying that Stan Winston came up with the idea, and then there are other clips that say the director came up with the idea. And yet, there's another clip here that says this idea.
We were sending all of our comics, Aliens and Predator comics, and Aliens versus Predator, all of that was going to Joel Silver's office because they would call us almost every week and ask, we need more comics, we want more comics. We got a photo from the set of the Predator 2 movie. It was sort of a wink at the Alien versus Predator comics that someone there had thought it would be fun to do.
We're not going to take a stance on who we believe is right, because it's something for you to decide. We just report it. Despite the crossover being hinted at in Predator 2, 20th Century Fox didn't really embrace the idea, especially since they were now 4 years into a never-ending hell that was the pre-production for Alien 3 due to the gross incompetence of David Giler and Walter Hill. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out our Alien 3 videos. Around the summer of 1991, a fan of the Alien series got to visit the set of Alien 3 with a journalist buddy and was given a tour of the creature shop by Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis. The guest was entertained over some horror stories of Alien 3 production, and Woodruff and Gillis asked what he did. The guest told them he was a writer, but his career wasn't going anywhere at the moment. They then asked him what he was working on, and he said Alien vs. Predator, which was based on the comic series he recently read. Alec's response was not what the guest expected. Man, I can't see how that would happen. He then told the two about the alien skull appearing in Predator 2, and their conversation did not deter the writer, and his name was Peter Briggs. Briggs wrote many scripts, but they never seemed to land. Despite this, he was tied to a big Hollywood agency, and he was passionate about his subject matter, especially Alien, because he was a huge fan of that franchise. In fact, Peter grew more passionate about writing the crossover film, not only because of his love of the material, but also to show studios that he had the ability to work in established properties. It was his hope that they would see he could do polishes on existing elements. Yet even when his friends would chide him about it, he marched forward. They were like, Peter, why are you doing this? Nothing is ever going to happen with it. And I was sort of bullishly forging ahead, and I took it into William Morris. My agent said, okay, Pete. So his agent, Steve Kennis, wasn't that enthusiastic. Aliens versus Predator? Pete, have you any idea how hard this is going to be to sell? And I sort of shrugged and kind of made noises. He went, look, I'm friends with Larry Gordon. I gotta go across the states next week. Larry's an old friend of mine. I'll take it with him. We'll have a chat. So Briggs returned home to work on a model of Ripley's power loader in his backyard to pass his time. While he was doing this, he got a message on his answering machine that said, Pete, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I can't wait to talk to Larry about this. It's a great script. Well done. Briggs went back to work on his model until one day at 5 p.m., while Peter was painting Ripley's hair, he got another call from his agent, and he told Peter to sit down. I've sold your script. I was like, what? He said 20th Century Fox's Joe Roth came to Larry Gordon last week, wanted to know if they could develop it, the idea of Alien versus Predator, and literally, my agent walked into the right place at the right time, and I sold the script overnight. It was a 1,000,000,000 thing, and I was very lucky, and that was that. This was the script Peter Briggs wrote, called The Hunt, Alien vs. Predator, dated September 4th, 1991. It begins with 5 predators landing on a barren planet's surface led by a predator named Broken Tusk. They enter a cave and fight many xenomorphs. One predator is killed instantly, while another kills a xenomorph close to him, and most of his body is melted away by alien acid. When the fight is over, the predators remain, and those who survived grab trophies, while Broken Tusk mercy kills the predator that is melting away by acid. Before they leave the planet, Broken Tusk activates the risk computer of one of the dead predators to finish the possibility of surviving xenomorphs. The hunting party from the planet return to their mothership, where an old predator is carving something as Broken Tusk stands over an alien queen that is completely restrained and forced to lay eggs. These eggs are put on an assembly line and are scanned. An alien queen is detected in one of the eggs, and it's destroyed in a furnace, much to the adult queen's anger. Those eggs that are confirmed to be warriors head to a pod that rocket away from the ship, and it's stated that the predators are seeding worlds with xenomorphs to hunt. We then cut to a station that belongs to the Utani Templin Company. It nestles itself over a rainforest, kind of like an oil station rig, except over the trees. On the station is Hiroko Noguchi, who is practicing her sword training against holograms when she is interrupted by a subordinate. Something is approaching their planet, and they don't know what it is. We know that the approaching thing is the predator pods filled with alien eggs. They try to manipulate the course of the alien pods, but fail. As a result of their efforts, they damage their communications. The pod impacts the planet, and there is discussion that procedure will have Marines arrive to the planet within 5 days after such a deliberate invasion of their territory or communication disruptions. So all they need to do is sit tight and not venture towards the area of impact. At the impact site, a machine-like spider drops alien eggs and then moves off into the tree line. In space, a cloaked predator ship approaches the planet. Back at the impact site, a skilled hunter named York approaches the area with his buddy, and they discover a rhino creature lying on the ground looking sick. They also find an open xenomorph egg, which is empty. They inspect the crater and see some metal inside, and deduce whatever was in the crater left the area. Then, York's buddy sees another xenomorph egg that is not open. The man prods it with his gun, and a facehugger emerges. It creepily attaches itself to his face, complete with pressing its tendrils between his lips and making a sucking sound after it has gained purchase. Meanwhile, not far off, a predator watches them and inspects the facehugger with an X-ray view that shows the tendril of the facehugger pumping fluid into its victim. York places the face-hugged man on his bike and rides off as multiple predators converge on the impact site. York delivers his friend to a safe building, and they can't seem to get the face-hugger off. A motion sensor goes off in the area, and a man named Min goes outside and uses an auto-targeting gun. He fires at a luminous shape that turns out to be a predator. York and another person exit only to see Min killed. The other person tries to run for a weapon but is killed as well. York doesn't go in for attack. Instead, he speeds away on a bike. Behind him, a chasing predator throws a spear at the bike and it sticks to it. However, the bike keeps moving. Several predators appear and one enters the structure where the man with the facehugger is. Later, a helijet comes over the site, and Hiroko and her team find the man named Ackland, who was face-hugged. He is sweating, and the facehugger is laying next to him. They load up Ackland and the facehugger, and soon after they discover two skinned bodies by the site. Back at the base, Ackland and the dead facehugger are turned over to the doctor. Hiroko plans to report the situation to ICC as a homicide. When Ackland wakes up, they ask him what happens, and he's stumped how he got there. They show him the facehugger, and oddly he does not remember it, and asks where York is. He is told he's missing, but everyone at the camp is dead. Outside, two people see York speeding to the base. He is bleeding badly, and he hits something and flips into a marsh along with the predator spear that was attached to his bike. Back in the infirmary, Ackland starts coughing and hitting his chest. The doctor gives him something to ease his pain, and immediately he's calmed. But still, he coughs blood, followed by convulsions as he falls on the floor. He lays there quietly, staring at the ceiling, while sounds of his rib cage cracking like twigs occur. Soon after, a chest burster appears. The doctor is quick to seal the room to protect contamination, but it is shadowy, and the chest burster runs out of sight. The doctor arms herself. When the chest burster jumps at her, she swings her weapon and we hear sizzling like bacon. We then cut to York being rolled towards the infirmary. The door is sealed and they begin to force it open when the wounded chest burster jumps out and runs down the corridor. They find the doctor dead, and Hiroko orders her folks to go in pairs to find and kill the creature. In Hiroko's office, York is a mess, but conscious, and relays what he saw and tells them that the spear came from the creatures that slaughtered his people. Everyone muses that the Marines need to arrive fast. 3 days later, armed search parties with motion trackers are still searching for the xenomorph. One of the search group notes that it is deathly silent around the base, and it's uncanny as sounds of wildlife is normal. They also notice that some rhino beasts that the base has caged for their needs is huddled in a corner acting peculiar, and one of them got through a wire mesh, leaving a trail of blood behind. They then pick up motion and follow the signal as something jumps out at them. Instinctively, they fire their guns. Hiroko looks up after the sound of gunfire and jumps to action. 2 people working in a vertical tunnel nearby hear the gunfire too and look up. Startled, one of them drops something near the water below. The 2 men who fired their guns stare at what they call a lemur that is native to this planet. They apologize for the false alarm, while the workers in the tunnel grumble. One says she needs slack so she can be lowered down to get what dropped by the water. Obediently, the other goes to the top and lowers the other down. As the other is lowered, she reaches for the tool when an alien hand raises out of the water and grabs her hand. The woman screams as the xenomorph face rises and its other hand grabs her mouth before dragging her under the water. Above, the line pulls tight and the contraption attached to the harness rips out of the floor. Nervously, the man looks below, and after a moment, he sees something running up the shaft. Immediately, the man grabs a nearby pulse rifle and starts firing on the xenomorph. It is hit and falls back into the pit from whence it came. Everyone converges to this area now, and when they find the frightened man, he shuts a door behind him, but the sound of tearing metal occurs on the other side. Another alien appears and begins killing people who have all converged there, and it's very crowded. Then the alien turns its attention to something that lands near it, and an invisible spear stabs the xenomorph. When it dies, the sound of multiple hisses can be heard as more aliens converge on the crowded area. A man tries to shoot the predator, but Hiroko shouts no and causes the man to miss. The predator notices this but quickly turns his attention to an alien who was so close it ripped off its mask. The predator is Broken Tusk, and it uses a circular smart weapon to cut the alien's skull away from its head. After the alien is dead, Broken Tusk flings the creature off the building and jumps out of sight from the humans. Everyone is ordered to retreat to the command center so the base can be sealed. Before this can happen, many aliens begin breaking through the drainage systems, and 2 men fire their guns, killing many aliens. The group runs as aliens chase them. They run into a giant vehicle and start it, while others fire guns at the approaching aliens. Above, Broken Tusk and his team of hunters watch. In the bowels of the base, the pen of rhinos can be heard at the bottom of the base. In the pen, a giant rhino rams an alien only to be splattered by acid blood. Above, the humans understand they are being surrounded and overtaken. Eager to have battle, the predators join the fray. The people in the giant vehicle shoot an alien from above that falls on the roof of the cabin, and acid begins seeping through. The vehicle halts, and they escape, only to be blocked by a closed command door. In the middle of the chaos, the predators are starting to be overrun. One predator is trying to resist being dragged away by 2 aliens, and in agitation, the creatures stab him with their tails as the predator yells. At the command center, Hiroko presses a button to lower the shutters over the windows when an alien is outside trying to get in. As the shutters close, the alien does manage to get in the window, but its tail is cut off in the process. Hiroko turns on her hologram, which has human forms, and it confuses the xenomorph while she grabs the predator spear that York brought to them. The alien tries to kill the holograms when Hiroko stabs the alien in the head with the predator spear. The men outside the command center, screaming for the doors to be open, run out of ammo. And it's too late. They are killed by swarming xenomorphs. Outside, it is utter mayhem. Any humans out there are being slaughtered. While the predator numbers dwindle, Broken Tusk and another predator try to escape by climbing, but after furious moments of hand-to-hand, the predator accompanying him falls from the roof into electrical cables, with an alien. In the command center, power goes out in certain areas, and they realize if they do nothing, they're doomed. They decide their only hope is to help the predators, if any are still alive. In a special suit, Hiroko crawls through a tight water-filled duct to reach a crane that can lift up the command center to safety, while the others wait for her hopefully. Hiroko manages to get through the tunnel and finds herself in a small alien nest where bodies of humans, rhinos, lemurs, and other animals were held captive for implantation. She is attacked by a facehugger, but her helmet is soaked and slippery, giving her an opportunity to kill the creature by shooting rivets at it from a work tool. Broken Tusk tries to use his arm computer, but it is ruined, so he throws it off, knowing the situation can't be contained. He sees Hiroko climbing up a huge crane. The device lifts the command center up, separating it from the rest of the facility. Hiroko then tries to get to a jet copter, but the aliens swarm towards her, and all seems lost when Broken Tusk appears to help her survive. After all opposition that threatened Hiroko is killed, the predator and the human stare at each other before it offers her one of its weapons. She takes the weapon. Broken Tusk then leads them into a tunnel where they find an alien nest with a sleeping queen. Tusk quietly finds a predator and takes weapons from the dead creature trapped in the resin. He then sets the dead predator's wrist computer for self-destruct, while a human survivor calls out to Hiroko for help, but she can't do anything. The predator kills the human for her, and some of his blood splatters on her face. As they flee, they pass a big pulsating sack, and an immature queen plops out of it. The creature notices them, and it attacks, wounding the predator. Hiroko comes to save the day, and Broken Tusk cuts off the creature's wrists. As they flee to the helipad, the predator falls. Hiroko tries to help him, but he refuses her help. He moves away while she gets to the chopper. You see what I did there? Get it? Anyways, as she takes off, she sees Broken Tusk climbing a tower. Below, in the alien nest, the dead predator's wrist computer counts down. Back on top, Hiroko flies the helijet next to the predator, who is now on top of the tower while aliens climb up to him. She tells the predator to jump in, and he does. When he is inside, an explosion occurs, and the wounded infant queen grabs hold of the chopper. The predator grabs a pulse rifle and shoots the queen, while cheesily saying, "Chew on this." They fly away, but the copter is damaged and they crash in a swamp. Tusk is really wounded, and Hiroko tries to help him up when a stowaway alien stabs the predator. Hiroko grabs his weapon, ready to kill the alien, but before the alien can move on her, the predator shoots the alien with the pulse rifle that's still in its hand. With the xenomorph dead, Broken Tusk follows it in death, leaving Hiroko alone. The helijet radio comes to life as marine dropships enter the atmosphere and sends out messages to the inhabitants below. Hiroko doesn't respond as she sees a predator shuttle landing by her position. Predators exit and lift the body of Broken Tusk and take him inside their craft. An older predator gives her a telescopic spear. Hiroko looks back at the ruined facility as the dropships land not far from the elevated command center. She then looks back at the predator and says, "Yeah, why not?" And then she enters the predator ship, leaving the people she saved behind. The film then cuts to black. Now, it's pretty obvious Briggs's script had a lot in common with the comic, which is why I constantly showed images from that periodical, and Briggs is very honest about this fact. I make no bones about the fact that yes, I ripped the comic book off, but it's not the straight adaptation, partly because there were story elements in there that I didn't really feel fitted into the Alien universe. Now, there is a lot going for Briggs's script, as it actually tightened the comic story and added some very tense moments. Also, there was clear respect for both the aliens and predators. There was no levity in this script, which is appropriate for Alien and Predator films. They should be dread. More so, there was respect, and this is something that is missing from most modern Alien films. The xenomorph's maturation and growth were treated with logic, and rather than rush to grow aliens in 5 minutes after a facehugger jumps on a person, the script took its time to get there and tried its best to focus on characters. And it built the tension. This leads us to Hiroko, who is pretty much the same character as the comic, and she is a good character that stood the test of time, as she became a reoccurring character in later Alien comics. Fans would even embrace figures of her. Her character was not an uninspired, dumb girl boss. She had to learn stuff. She didn't have a foundation in attitude or dull. Now, the expense of making this film, as it was, would have been hefty. What with the many locales and effects, but with proper retooling, it was easily manageable for Fox to make during the 90s. Of course, there was a second draft written, but it is currently out of circulation for many reasons. The main reason is that it was on a floppy disk, and Briggs stated he lost track of it, and secondly, Briggs stated he gave whatever written material that he had to legal teams due to the arbitration that occurred over this film later. So there is no way to know exactly what was in that second draft. What we do know about this second draft comes from Peter Briggs himself, who stated it had less characters, more cut dialogue, and it introduced a pred-alien for about 3 seconds. The pred-alien would be freshly birthed because somehow a predator was captured and impregnated. As it was born, it was immediately killed by Broken Tusk, exactly the way that it occurred in the final film. There was also a new beginning where predators enter a human ship in zero-G suits, as there is no gravity, and they fight aliens in zero-G with their blood going everywhere. I wonder who heard about this and copied it into their film. Briggs wanted Tia Carrere, or Joan Shen, to be the main character, Hiroko, but this would not come to pass as there were many problems looming for the 90s project. The first problem were the 7 producers linked to the Alien and Predator rights, and they all thought they knew what was best for the franchise, and some of them hated each other, while others were full of ego and they had to be satiated. Then there was Sigourney Weaver, who was publicly shaming the idea of Alien versus Predator every chance she got. She stated the crossover was the reason I wanted my character to die in the first place. This quote can be easily proven to be factually untrue. Her death scene was already talked about during the pre-production process of Alien 3 with John Fasano's script long before the Alien vs. Predator comic was released. Furthermore, Fox would not even seriously entertain the concept of making Alien vs. Predator until September 1991, 8 months after principal photography started for Alien 3. Then there was Rolland Emmerich. One day during the summer of 1992, Lloyd Levin, who was in Fox development, called Briggs and asked him if he knew who Rolland Emmerich was, and inquired if he thought he fit for AVP. Briggs replied maybe, but wasn't completely behind it, because all Emmerich was known for at that time was Universal Soldier, which was currently in theaters. Despite any misgivings, Rolland Emmerich and Dean Devlin were tapped to do the movie, and it appeared they were going to throw Peter Briggs under the bus. Emmerich announced he was doing Alien vs. Predator in late 1992 to an Aliens magazine, and allowed the publication to state that no writer was confirmed, even though Briggs' script was the foundation for the project for about a year to this point. They wanted the movie to be on a jungle planet like the comic. Later, they came clean and said they didn't like Briggs' script and wanted the movie to revolve around a pred-alien, to which they had art drawn up by Dave Dorman. A big reason the film didn't happen at this time was due to Emmerich and Devlin's lack of urgency with the project. When they announced working on AVP, they were already working on Stargate and would not be available to start filming AVP until early 1994 due to their schedule. This meant that when they started filming Stargate in November 1992, the production of AVP languished, with little focus. Had an available director gotten the job and got the ball rolling, AVP might have been made over Alien Resurrection, and that film might have been based on Briggs's script. However, because it wasn't started in 1993, the inevitable price had to be paid. What really killed Alien vs. Predator finally was the exit of studio head Joe Roth in 1994. When the new head, Peter Chernin, came in, all projects in development were killed, and AVP was one of them. It was over as fast as it started, and this means that this video is now over as well. But don't worry, the studio mishandling is not over, and in part 2 we will see more messes to come, I promise. Studio execs are guaranteed to create chaos, especially in any sci-fi franchise.
Sanders, you gotta help me. I don't know what to do. I can't make decisions. I'm a president.
We will see you next time. If you like what you see here, click like and subscribe. Super thanks helps a lot, but sharing helps more.